You know exactly what happened. Don't fool yourself. Intensity isn't passion, it's a reflection of absence. When someone comes and goes, you cling to what's left, and that's just a shadow of what could be. Intensity is the silent scream of someone feeling abandoned. He disappears, comes back, promises, leaves you waiting, every time more desperate for validation. And you, in this cycle, justify, adapt, surrender. There is no love in empty promises. There is the maintenance of a pattern. You become an echo of expectation while the other remains distant. The connection you feel is just a void you're trying to fill. It's uncomfortable. You already know. What is missing is action. To call it intensity requires courage to face loneliness. To call it love requires a critical look at your own dependency. The bond remains because you sustain it, not because it is strong, but because you don't cut it. Those who abandon don't need to explain, and you keep trying to understand what doesn't need to be understood. You seek answers where there are only excuses. When someone wants, they act. When someone cares, they are present. If you need to struggle to maintain it, you've already lost. If you need to beg for attention, you've already been put in the background. You're not trapped, you're stuck. And being stuck is a choice. The raw truth is that nothing changes. Change isn't convenient for those who receive everything without offering anything in return. As long as you remain available, the cycle repeats. Decide if you're going to continue accepting the cost. Don't wait for promises that cannot be kept. This is the point where you stop. And this point doesn't come alone. You pretend it doesn't affect you. But deep down, every absence weighs. Every silence is an echo that reverberates in what you believe to be love. And this belief makes you a hostage. You question yourself, am I enough? And it's in that place where anxiety takes hold. Doubts inhabit your mind, and you get lost in attempts to understand the incomprehensible. Meanwhile, the other person ignores your needs as if they were unwanted noise. You realize that you are more concerned with understanding his behavior than taking care of yourself. And this becomes a vicious cycle. Expectation turns into hope. Every small sign is interpreted as a change, a look, a brief message. You grasp these crumbs as if they were the feast you were waiting for. The lack transforms desire into need. Now you don't just want him to be present. You need him to prove that you still mean something. The bitter truth is that he was never the answer. The emptiness does not disappear with words. Labels do not fill spaces. He vanishes, reappears, deceives, and you continue to justify. During this process, you discover yourself, but not in the way you would like. There is no self-awareness, but rather a series of layers that you build to protect your heart. Layers that are actually prisons. Every unfulfilled promise is another brick in this wall. A wall that you erect between what could be and what really is. You become an artist of denial. You create your own narrative where he is the hero and you are the victim. But who keeps this tale alive? You. And when someone asks, "Are you okay?" you respond with a rehearsed smile. You convince yourself that the intensity is real, but the intensity does not bring comfort. It is a fire that burns and consumes but does not warm. It is a spectacle of lights that blinds the raw and naked truth. Meanwhile, the world goes on. The days pass. People go on with their lives. You stay. You stay waiting for him to make the choice you desire, even knowing that the choice should be yours. Time stretches and each moment turns into an eternity of uncertainties. And you don't realize that life doesn't wait. While you're trapped in this cycle, time slips away. You find yourself trapped in a prison you built. The walls are invisible, but they are suffocating. Outside, there are opportunities. There are new beginnings, people who might value your presence, but all of that seems distant, like a mirage. Because you, by your own choice, transformed into scraps of what you believe you deserve, and the memories begin to blend. What was good becomes blurred by the pain. You remember the happy moments, but they come with a bitter taste, unfulfilled promises, words that sound empty, and so nostalgia becomes a poison. It stops you from moving forward. You idealize what was, but forget that the past doesn't return. It's time to face reality. There is no love in a one-dimensional bond. When one side strives and the other remains inert, the dynamic is different. You can wait for the miracle of change, or you can make the miracle happen. The choice is yours, and this decision doesn't need external validation. It must come from within. And meanwhile, the other person goes on. They continue their life without perceiving the weight of your presence. You become a mirror, reflecting your insecurities. You don't need promises. You need action. You need clarity. Deep down, you know. You know that you deserved more, but still you hesitate. That cycle is comfortable, even if it is unsustainable, and the doubt persists. What if one day he changes? But the truth is clear. The other person will not change. The change needs to come from you. Now, observe. Notice your role. You sustain this dynamic. Without you, the cycle would have no reason to exist. The abandonment is not just theirs. You also abandon yourself by staying. And now ask yourself, what is the cost of this choice? Reality has already been presented, and the only thing that remains is the decision to take the reins of your life. What you are going to do from this point on does not depend on promises of change, but on the courage to face the loneliness you fear. Because in the end, staying still is simply a choice. You cling to this idea that the cycle could be different. But deep down, hope is just a disguise for fear of reality. Every day you live a repetition. With each reunion, a déjà vu that echoes your uncertainties. Promises become a mantra, but the words carry no weight. The other is physically present, but emotionally distant, and you in your labyrinth seek an exit through fragments of attention. Each unanswered message turns into a new brick in the wall you build between you both. You try to decipher his language, but that is not love. It is survival in an emotional battlefield. The illusion of control traps you. You try to divert the gaze of those who see the fragility of what you have built. Everyone around you notices the convulsive intensity of your internal struggle. They see that you have become a spectator of your own life. You are not the protagonist. You are a ghost that roams through memories. What to do with all of this? What to do when action does not come? You look at yourself in the mirror and ask, who am I without this? And instead of answers, there is only the reflection of a version of you that got lost. This search for external validation turns into a labyrinth with no exit. Each corner you turn brings more doubts. The past calls. It whispers promises of better days. But you know those days are shrouded in mist. Meanwhile, time hurts. The days drag on, and you count the hours like someone waiting for a train that never arrives. You think this is love. But love is not waiting. Love is movement. And in this movement, what remains is only the echo of your own solitude. Every interaction becomes a test, a look, a touch, a word. You capture each nuance as if it were the last chance. But that is not what it should be. It is a negotiation, an exchange where you give too much and receive crumbs. The cost of this choice accumulates. The emotional balance starts to scream. You can no longer dissociate your emotions from his behavior. His presence becomes an anchor, and you, a drifting vessel. With this, you inflate this unsustainable bond, believing it is true love. The battlefield extends, and you find yourself in unknown territory. It is not the roads that diverge, but your perception of reality. What do you want? What do you need? These questions pile up like stones in your mind, occupying every available space. And then comes the revelation. You realize that the only constant in this equation is yourself. The responsibility is not his, but yours. It is necessary to face what you really desire, and more importantly, what you are willing to give up. Keeping this cycle is comfortable, but don't be mistaken. It is a bitter comfort. Each day that passes within this pattern is a day that you sacrifice your essence. You feel exhausted. The fight for recognition drains your energy, and the bare truth resonates inside you. The love you seek is not found in a one-dimensional space. It is a distant echo that only serves to remind you of what is missing. The feeling of being trapped intensifies. You become aware that all your efforts have no effect on him, and the freedom you so much long for will not come from a gesture of his. It will come from the act of letting go. From finally looking at yourself and recognizing that this cycle is not just a phase. It is a poison that corrodes every part of who you are. The tears you held back accumulate beneath the surface. Each repressed emotion is a chain that keeps you tied to what no longer serves you. Free yourself from this prison. Every necessary step requires courage, and that courage resides within you. The outside world will not wait for you. Life happens, and every second lost is an opportunity that slips away. The choice is yours. You can decide to break this pattern or continue living in this shadow. Your feelings deserve space to breathe. For that, it is necessary to cut the umbilical cord that binds you to this cycle. Look ahead. New beginnings will not come until you decide to leave the past behind. And you already know that true love doesn't require sacrifice. Love is not a struggle. Love is lightness. Love is presence. You deserve this. And even though this journey might seem frightening, remember, the reality has already been presented. And now the only thing left is your choice to take the first step. You see yourself in a mirror, but the reflected image no longer recognizes you. The marks of time, choices, and wear are inscribed on your expression. There is a mismatch between what you desire and what you are living. And in this dissonance, life flows without you realizing it. While your brain tries to justify the absences, your heart cries out for presence. There is a profound fear of detaching from this cycle. What will be left of you if all this ends? The idea of starting over sounds like an empty promise, an unknown terrain that causes anguish. Obsessive thoughts dance around his figure. You imagine scenarios. What if he calls me? What if he changes? In this whirlwind, hope turns into an anchor weighing on your soul. Every time he disappears, you shrink, and when he returns, you expand as if trying to fill an unsustainable void. You accept the excuses, the empty promises, as if they were peace treaties in a silent war. But what are you really seeking? Validation? Recognition? Or just the confirmation that you are still seen? These questions inhabit your mind, but the answers remain elusive, like shadows that appear and disappear with the light of reason. As the days drag on, the weight of the past accumulates. You feel like a book whose pages have been scribbled on, untold stories, suffocated emotions. Your inner self screams to be heard, but you ignore it. The cost of this denial becomes increasingly clear. Time is not your ally here. It slips through your fingers like sand. You realize that while clinging to memories, you allow the present to go unnoticed. Every moment you could be living is lost in a labyrinth of anxieties, and then a new idea arises. Freedom. Something you've always wanted, but it seems so distant. What would it truly be to free yourself, to let go of expectations, attachment, fear, to face solitude not as a burden, but as a space to rediscover yourself, a blank canvas where you can begin writing your own story? This freedom requires courage. Are you willing to face what comes next? The unknown may suggest loneliness, but it also brings the possibility of self-discovery. On this journey, you may uncover forgotten passions, abandoned interests, and the essence that lay dormant under layers of expectations. The echoes of your thoughts begin to change. This is not about waiting for him to change. It's about you moving, transforming, redefining yourself. There comes a point when the pain of standing still becomes greater than the fear of what lies ahead. It is in this space that you find a new perspective. Superficial interactions become increasingly unbearable. Every exchange of messages that once seemed promising now feels like a trap. The crumbs of attention you accepted for so long begin to feel like insults, reminding you that you are worthy of more. The people around you begin to notice your change. There's a new sparkle in your eyes, a determination that wasn't there before. You step away from the pattern, from the consumerist cycle of distorted love. And when you look back, you realize that the person you used to be no longer exists. Your inner voice gains strength. You start to clearly question yourself. What do I really want? There is no room for maybe. During this search, you realize that you don't need validation from anyone. The only validation that matters is yours. And so you begin to forgive yourself for the times you left yourself behind. Instead of feeling trapped, you feel light. Each step toward freedom is like taking a deep breath after being submerged for a long time. The fresh air fills your lungs and invigorates you. It's necessary to let go, detach, release the past from the emotional prison it became in your reality. The love you thought existed has been replaced by a toxic relationship with suffering. Now you decide to deconstruct this. His words no longer have power. Each promising sorry no longer resonates. You finally see the naked and raw truth. This process is not linear. There will be days of doubt, moments when you'll want to return to the comfort zone. But the difference is that now you are aware. You know that this comfort is an illusion, a specter that consumes you slowly. Over time, the shadows begin to dissipate. The mourning for the relationship that wasn't turns into gratitude for what you learned. You discover that the intensity you felt wasn't love, it was the need for fulfillment. Now you are learning to fulfill yourself. And when you finally manage to look to the future, a future that seems scary but full of possibilities, a new chapter opens before you. Opportunities present themselves like flowers in a renewing spring. You ask yourself, what awaits me? Faced with this new perspective, you realize that true love is not nourished by dependence, but by conscious choice. Love does not impose itself, it flows. And when you allow yourself to love yourself, life begins to react. The only thing left now is the firm decision to move forward. The past was just a lesson. Life goes on, and you are ready to live it, no longer as a spectator, but as a protagonist. The transformation is real. The only thing missing is your courage to take the first step towards your new self.